Well, I managed to create torches.
Hey, welcome to another episode of ChaosCraft. I'm Matt with Schematical, and today we're going to be talking a bit about training room roles. So it's a big new feature I'm working on that'll allow me to do an open AI style adversarial training of two different types of neural nets. So for example, hiders and seekers is one I'm trying to mimic. So they had a bunch of hiders that would learn how to hide efficiently and a bunch of seekers that would learn to find them out in props in the environment. Well, I think we can take it to a whole new level with Minecraft because there's so many different other tools in there that they can learn to use, which could be really cool. And hiders and seekers is just the tip of the iceberg. We do all sorts of cool stuff. I have an idea for something called Chaos Ball where they have goalies and forwards and defenders. It's similar to soccer or similar to footy. And I want to build that into here and so many other things. So it could be really cool. So I'm spending a lot of time on that, and I'm going to go into the details on how I did all that. But before I do that, I've got a fun little surprise for you guys. ChaosNet.ai. It's https://chaosnet.ai. It is a URL. It is available publicly now. So you guys can go here. You can sign up. I'm already signed in here. If you'd like to, you can see the Discord stuff. If you're not on the Discord, hop on the Discord. You can see training rooms that have recently been created. I actually don't even know what Combat 1 is. You can see recent sessions. And for those of you guys that don't remember, a training room is a group of fitness functions and species and organisms that are self-contained. So you can create your own training room here. You can create your own fitness rules. This person, this isn't even one of mine, says evidently they want the entities to fight each other. Which I don't know why everybody wants that, but that's your prerogative. Here's a list of my training rooms. You can see the training rooms I've used before, the action buffer stuff, crafty, and some new stuff, King of the Hill, all that stuff there. I can look at the species they've got. There's nobody in here. One sec, let's try a different training room. So here we're looking at Cold Embrace of Death, who I keep telling should have their own YouTube channel for all the cool stuff they're doing with this. I can look at the species, I can look at the scores, I can look at their life state, their complexity scores. Over time, I can take a look at the high scoring one, which looks like it's this guy. I can look at all the organisms, or I can look at the top organisms. Right here, I can see this one's got a score of 241, which is way above the rest. I could take a look at their neural nets. I can see what inputs they're using. Wow, this guy's a very simple one for getting a very high score. And to be clear, Cold Embrace has written their own fitness function and wired it in. It's even more sophisticated than just the fitness rules you can create normally. So it's taken it to a whole nother level. You can even download the neural net here. So that's it. That's basically how it all works. I could even look at all the other people that have trained on my training rooms here and take a look at some of their stuff, see where their scores are at and their organisms as well. You can do some repairing of things. Actually, this is his session, so I can't do much. Well, I am the admin, so I guess I can. But you can also repair your session if it comes undone. I've got an automatic repair feature that tries to fix your session if it's busted up, or you can do a hard reset if you really get in the pinch, meaning it deletes all these things. So there's a lot of different options here, but this is ChaosNet. So let's go ahead and create a training room. So once you've signed up, I'm going to create a new training room called Simple Room. I'm going to go save. And now I've got the ability to hop on and edit the fitness rules. And I can say, I can do a block mind. And I say, let's just say oak plank. And we're going to call this one oak plank. And I'm going to give it a score of 10. And we're going to give them 15 extra seconds of life. And you could do -1 if you want it to last forever, or you could do 10. I recommend not doing -1 because they always find a way. And save it, and I can add more rules from there. We've got all sorts of stuff you can do. And I'm hoping to get these documented in the wiki. So if anybody's looking to help collaborate with this, be my guest to help document that. And preset neurons are another thing you can add. Preset neurons basically mean that the bots start with these neurons. Since we're using NeatO, and feel free to go back and look at my old video on NeatO, though it pains me to look at that, even though it's only a couple months old. You can basically say, is looking at a block ID, let's say oak plank, and we'll name it, is looking at oak plank. And here we've got, you can assign it to a specific eye. They have 10 eyes by default in the current sim model, which I'll talk more about sim models in another video. So new neurons give them a good leg up. And once you're done here, you hop onto your running version of ChaosCraft, which this is Chaos here. You press the button O, you hit training room. You put in the username of the room you're trying to train on. So if it's a room I created, it'll be in the URL. It'll be at the top of the screen you just created. You use schematical in that case. If it's a room you created, use your username. Then you type in the room's name, and you hit login, and you're good to go. Don't mess with the env unless you're really deep in this project, in which case you're probably talking to me about it on Discord. Leave the env alone. And you should be good to go. You'll need to place spawn blocks, of course, just like that spawn block there, and they should start shooting out of it. Place many spawn blocks, not just one, or they'll all just clump together. That said, we have had some server costs go up because more people are using it, and anybody can sign up at ChaosNet.ai for free. And so if you want to, go ahead and do that. But because we've had more people training, the costs have gone up. Our Redis instance maxed out its neural nets temporarily, again, for the second time. Our MongoDB timed out because we had too much throughput. So I'm going to have to start booting up bigger and bigger servers. So if anybody's interested in helping out by contributing on Patreon, that would be amazing. And we had a couple new patrons this week, and you'll hear more about them later. But thank you very much. And if you're interested in neural network stuff and Minecraft AI and my crazy experiments, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you guys along on this wild journey. All right, now that we've got all that out of the way, I do have some technical changes that are coming down the line for the roles that I was talking about before. I'm going to go into detail on how exactly I plan to implement it and explain using an ERD. Here we go. So I want to describe some of the changes I'm making to the backend that are big, that are going to let us do some really cool stuff like the team stuff. And to do that, I'm going to need to use an entity relationship diagram, and evidently a doodle of Superman. An entity relationship diagram, otherwise known as an ERD, is intended to describe the relationships between different data records in the database. You can see here we have two tables, a user table and a training room table. Now each user can create multiple training rooms, but each training room has only one user that created it. So how do we denote that in a diagram? We start by drawing two boxes, each with the table name in it. We then connect any tables that are related with just a simple line. From there, we use 4 symbols if you're using strict notation, and just simply 2 symbols or 1 symbol if you're being lax about it, which I am commonly, but I'm going to try not to be for this. And the one closest to the user table is the maximum amount of users that the training room can be related to. The one slightly closer to the training room table is the minimum number of users that a training room can be associated with. So since a training room always has a minimum and maximum of 1 owner user, then we just draw 2 ones. On the other side, since a user can have no training rooms if they sign up and use someone else's training rooms, or they can have many training rooms, we use the crow's foot notation there to indicate that it could connect to many. I should note when using this notation, you don't really need to draw the multiple boxes like I did behind the training room. I just did that for your visual benefit. The same with the key at top. That's just to make sense of all this. Okay, so I'm going to start off with how the ERD is built right now. You've got your users, and each user can create training rooms, and each training room has sessions. A training room session helps track the progress you've made while training your bots in that particular training room. Each user has their own separate training room session to keep their data specific to training, which is why it has its own relationship between the user table and the training room session table. We've also got our fitness rules and our preset neuron collections that you guys just saw me interacting with on the website. In reality, those aren't separate collections, but for the purposes of this, they're collections. They're technically sub-documents, not important. Those both have the same one-to-many relationships you've seen pretty much across the board so far. But this relationship's about to change with the next generation, so I'm going to switch colors here for a second. This is going away. We also have our taxonomic rank table, or T-rank table. That tracks the different species, genuses, and other things as they progress within ChaosNet and evolve new organisms. And there's a separate organisms table, which has a direct relationship to its corresponding species in the taxonomic rank table. Now, because each user that decides they want to train in a training room has their own standalone separate set of species and organisms, the species table has a direct link with the training room session table. It also has a link directly back to the training room, but that is what we call denormalized. And I did it because it's more search efficient when I want to query all the species for a training room and see who's got the highest score. But again, that's a little bit more advanced than I want to get into right now. So let's take a look at the new collection we're going to add, training room roles. A role is a collection of fitness functions and preset neurons and a couple other settings that are going to allow us to train two different types of organisms at the same time. A good example of this is OpenAI's hide and seek bots. So instead of just having all the bots in a simulation getting rewarded for the exact same thing, we can reward some for hiding and others for seeking. Another example of this will be when we create what I call a chaos ball, which is like a footy soccer type ripoff using Minecraft. We can have goalies, defenders, and forwards all doing their own unique behaviors so they can collaborate on the field. You can see that the fitness rules now have a direct dependency to the training room role, as well as the preset neurons and taxonomic ranks, since each role will have to have its own collection of species and organisms to train, separate from the other training room roles. So as you would imagine, this is not a small change. This is actually a pretty massive change, which is why you don't see more fancy experiments from me this week, because I spent most of the week bashing my head against the wall trying to get this thing to work. And I'm about 40% of the way there, I estimate. It has been pretty brutal, and I appreciate everybody's support while I'm doing it. Sometimes you just gotta take a little break and doodle. So that's pretty much it. You can watch the live stream if you guys want to see more detail. I discuss a lot of details on this in the live stream. Hopefully, if I can keep working on this like last week, we can drill through and get this thing done. If you guys are interested in learning more about my neural net adventures and my experiments and all that craziness, please like, share, subscribe. Give me an upvote. I don't know, post a link somewhere cool. Tell your friends about it. Every little bit helps. And now, for usual, some craziness from my patrons. Thank you guys so much. And you guys are placing weird things on each other's heads, evidently. Now you're a bee. Wow. Legit, you made him a bee. Yeah, we should. Why don't you guys just throw a villager up there? I don't know what you guys are doing here. Killing us. That a bee. That is indeed a bee. A lot of things going on here. I don't completely understand. Not really AI related up here, but yeah.